The red scarf we pretended not to see. The first time I saw the scarf, it was pretending to be a curtain tie. It hung loose from the bedpost in our apartment above the restaurant like it belonged to the room's architecture. Thin silk, angry red, a color that doesn't whisper. I would have missed it if the window hadn't been open and the sea wind hadn't teased the fabric into a little wave, a flag in a country I didn't know we'd visited. By the time Lana came in from the shower, the scarf had stopped moving. I tucked it back the way you tidy a lie that isn't ready to confess. "You left the door open again," she said, wrapping a towel around hair she never admitted was naturally wild. "You trust the whole harbor with our grocery list." "Our grocery list is mostly curses and lemons," I said, which could have been a joke if we'd been on the right side of it. We were. Not yet. She dropped the towel and walked to the wardrobe, skin glimmering with salt left over from the morning swim. She never looks more like herself than when her hair is plotting knots. I watched her choose the black dress that cut the line of her back like a verdict. She felt my watching and let me have a second more than she usually does. "You're late," she said to her reflection, and then to me, "We're late." "For Luca's rehearsal," I said. "He's going to pretend to fire me if I'm not downstairs by 6. "Let him fire you," she said, slipping the dress over her head. "You'll talk him out of it by dessert." I touched the scarf on the bedpost when she turned away. A perfume clung to it that wasn't ours, too sweet, a little reckless. I thought about asking. I thought about the rule we invented 2 years ago when the lease had been signed and the bills had started arriving like weather alerts. If you need to know, ask. If you're not sure, hold it in your mouth until it dissolves. The things we invent to keep from drowning. We live above the restaurant because I love punishment. The stairs smell like garlic and victory. Luca, my oldest friend, had named the place La Serena before he had the money to hang a proper sign. I'd come home from a job that taught me how to cradle reputations like rare birds, and he'd handed me a ladle and said, "Save me instead." I saved him with spreadsheets and press releases, and a smile I can sustain for 3 hours before something breaks. Lana arrived in the second month like a storm that politely introduces itself first. She was supposed to consult for 2 weeks on the bar program and left her suitcase under our bed a year later. I told myself I didn't mind the luggage. We were opening a second dining room that weekend, a speakeasy with a false wall and a pianist who could make your grandmother blush. Money had come in strange moods, some of it clean, some of it sentimental, some of it from Marco, a would-be investor who believed the sea owed him interest. Marco had been my client once when my days were spent putting out fires other people lit. He liked to say I gave him back his reputation with the serial number still on it. He also liked to touch Lana's wrist when he laughed, like laughter required an alibi. "Don't start a war with him tonight," Lana said as we descended the back stairs into the heat of the kitchen. "We need his check to clear." "I'll start it after dessert," I said. "I'm civilized." The rehearsal made the room nervous the way big nights do. Candles leaned like eavesdroppers. The bartender, a kid with a sailor tattoo and a graduate degree in spite, shook something into froth. Luca prowled between tables like an anxious, benevolent king. When he saw me, he grabbed my shoulders hard enough to remind me what bones are for. "If the fire marshal shows up," he said, "tell him he looks like he belongs here." "What if he does?" I asked. "Then get him drunk," he said, and kissed my cheek with the violence of affection. Marco arrived late, of course, with a smile that convinced rooms to forgive him before he asked. He wore a suit that cost the same as a month's rent, and a shirt unbuttoned enough to declare a policy. With him came a woman with glass-cut cheekbones and a dress that made the room glance at itself. She wore a red scarf knotted at her throat like a signature. This is Iris, Marco said, wrapping a hand around her waist with the casualness of someone who believes in possession. She makes art out of patience. Mostly, Iris said, and her eyes flicked over me and away like she'd been taught not to linger where trouble lives. I make schedules work for men who think time is optional. Lana's gaze caught on the scarf. Something unreadable passed across her face, a cloud too quick for a forecast. She touched her own throat, as if remembering she had one. Iris leaned toward Lana. "You're the legend behind the barreled Negroni," she said. "I've heard poems." "I hope they scanned," Lana said, smiling with only her mouth. We survived the rehearsal. The speakeasy behind the wall hummed like a secret telling itself softly. Luca clapped at nothing and everything. Marco made toasts without dragging his baggage into the room. And Lana and I did our oldest trick. We looked like we were on the same page even when the book was in two pieces. After midnight, I found the service corridor emptying into the back alley and stood in the salt-wet dark. The harbor breathed like an animal. Footsteps came soft behind me. The air changed. "I thought you quit smoking," I said without turning. "I did," Lana said. "I miss pretending to quit." She stood beside me, close enough that our shoulders almost remembered. An upstairs window spilled a stripe of light on the brick like a question. "Nice scarf," I said, keeping my voice easy. "It's not mine," she said. "I didn't say it was." She kissed the word into a smile and then let it go. "Don't pick at the seam tonight, Nate." "What seam?" I asked. "The one you see even when your eyes are closed," she said. "We need a good opening. Let the room have us. We can have each other tomorrow." I wanted to tell her about the scarf on the bedpost. I wanted to ask who Iris was right now to Marco and who she'd be tomorrow to any of us. Instead, I did the thing I do. I held the question in my mouth and hoped it would dissolve. We closed at 2. Luca insisted on a staff toast. Marco insisted on being photographed in the kitchen like he'd invented it. Iris disappeared before the picture, her red scarf a small comet leaving the frame. Lana poured us 2 fingers of something older than our patience and clinked my glass like a promise she wasn't sure how to cash. "Home?" she asked. "Home," I said. The scarf was back on the bedpost when we entered the apartment. It wasn't pretending anymore. It was there. It had no shame. The window was open wider. Someone had been in our room, and not long ago, the air still held the shape of their breath. I didn't have to play detective to know that certain people treat thresholds like suggestions. Lana saw it. She inhaled like she'd been running. For 1 second I watched every version of her fight for the microphone. The one who cares what rooms say won. She walked to the bed and untied the scarf softly, the way you untie something that has been with you too long. "It's Iris," she said. "She came up during service to use the bathroom, said the line downstairs was a riot. I forgot to lock the door when I took the trash earlier." "You believe that?" I said. "I believe in small stories when I'm tired," she said. Then, "And I believe Iris knows exactly how red works." "She knows timing too," I said. "Marco trains them." Lana folded the scarf into a neat blade and set it on the dresser like an object to be admired or dismantled. She turned to me, unfastening her earrings the way you dismantle armor. "Say the thing that's scraping your throat." "Are we okay?" I asked. "We're in motion," she said. "You like motion." "Do you?" I asked. She stepped into me. "When it's towards something," she said, and her mouth found mine with a need that was both apology and edict. We undressed each other like truth, not like victory. The window stayed open. The curtain breathed. We were careful, then not. We were hungry, then home. When she pulled me down and her knees bracketed my hips, when her hands flattened against my back, when I found the small freckle below her left shoulder that I call the lighthouse, we found the place where answers don't need words. After, with her hair making a nest on my chest, she said, "Tomorrow, if he tries to make you small, I will make him smaller." Which he? I asked, though I knew. All of them, she said, and laughed into my skin, the good kind. Morning came with the sea's rude optimism. The speakeasy's soft launch had made enough noise to bring reporters who would call it a secret in headlines. I was slicing lemons when Marco let himself into the apartment without knocking, a talent he rarely wasted. "Family meeting," he announced, as men like him do when they want to avoid using real nouns. He wore a smile that had won prizes he hadn't deserved. "We have to talk about the influencer contract." "What contract?" Lana asked from the stove, not looking like anyone's influence but mine. "The one Iris negotiated with the Harbor Tourism Board," he said. "They'll push the speakeasy to their lists if we give them a private membership tier. Names on the wall, keys. Little birds love little keys." He set a folder on our table. Inside, a draft agreement, a non-disclosure, a clause that said the quiet part aloud, priority access for select partners, a script for what to say if anyone asked about queue jumping. "No," Lana said, not even reading the page twice. "We don't sell the front of the line to people who already own the street." "And we don't use keys as jewelry," I said, closing the folder. Marco's smile cooled. "You two think you're saints because you sell perfect scallops," he said. "You're in a city. Cities run on who?" "Then let the city eat somewhere else," Lana said, too sweet. He looked at me like we were alone. "Control your house," he said. "It's our house," I said. "It doesn't respond to remote." He laughed, a single syllable, didn't like how it sounded in the air, and let the laugh die. "Careful," he said. "You forget what's in the walls." "I know exactly what's in them," I said. "We built them." He left with the folder like a threat he couldn't wait to wave. An hour later, Iris texted Lana, "I left something up there last night. Can I swing by?" Lana replied with the address of the bar downstairs. Iris came with wet hair and a smile that refused to land. She looked at the scarf on the dresser like a lover looks at her reflection. "Red is so unforgiving," she said, "but it keeps secrets better than black." "Black never explains itself," Lana said. "Red narrates." I watched them watch each other. It wasn't jealousy. It was two generals estimating terrain. Iris turned to me after she tied the scarf around her throat. "Marco's good at making men feel like music," she said. "He's worse with women." "He's equal opportunity terrible," I said. She grinned. "Take care, Nate, he likes trophies." "I like knives," I said. That night, the soft launch turned hard. The room filled with people who performed appetite for sport. Marco held court at the back banquette with a new entourage of men whose watches made them late to things. Iris floated between tables like someone who knows which words to leave unsaid. The pianist played the song that makes everyone think they have tragedy. At 11, a city inspector arrived. He wasn't the fire marshal, but he wore the same badge of inconvenience. Marco greeted him like an old friend who owes him money. They laughed at the same time. I tasted metal. The inspector found a flaw behind the bar that wasn't a flaw yesterday. An overstacked crate near an exit. A line on a form misaligned with a signature. He threatened to shut the speakeasy until the paperwork could be clarified. Marco's suit didn't wrinkle when he shrugged. "Routine," he told the room, easy as poison. "We'll reopen tomorrow by sundown." People groaned, performed being good sports, posted moody photos about exclusivity. Luca looked like a man trying to keep a cathedral from falling with his hands. Lana finished pouring a drink, set the glass down like a small weapon, and walked into the inspector's line of sight. "You'll need a warrant next time you come up our stairs," she said. "Tonight, you can escort the gentleman who brought you in and take your appetite elsewhere." The inspector tried to look at Marco for instruction. Marco widened his eyes, innocent and unhelpful. The inspector left in a huff that was more theater than storm. The room exhaled, resentful and thrilled. We closed early with a dignity that felt like a dare. "On the alley steps," I said, "he used your scarf on our bed." Iris didn't pretend to misunderstand. "He used my scarf on every bed," she said, and for the first time her voice had something soft in it, something almost bruised. "I leave it when I want a man to see himself. You saw yourself. Good, keep it." She tied the scarf around my wrist, then slid it off and put it in Lana's hand. "Put this where you can watch it," she said. "Your rooms deserve better ghosts." When she left, Marco didn't. He waited until the staff had gone and the dishwasher had surrendered. He put both palms on the bar as if preparing to do a push-up he'd narrate later. "You embarrassed me," he said. "You embarrassed yourself," Lana said. "You refuse money because you like to be liked," he told me. "And you," he said to Lana, "pretend you don't like being looked at." She smiled in a way that made me remember why some men fear women who know how to hold a room with 2 fingers. "We refuse your money because it asks for a cut of our sleep," she said. "We need our sleep." He leaned in and said the thing men say when they think they're still winning. "You'll call me." "Not after dessert," I said. "Not after anything." He left with the kind of quiet that hurts more than a door slam. The room felt cleaner. The sea sounded closer. I turned to Lana and found her already turning to me. "Say the word," she said, hand at my neck. "Honeysuckle," I said, ridiculous and ours, and watched the tension fall out of her shoulders like a dress. We went upstairs. The scarf waited on the dresser like a lesson. She pulled me onto the bed and the anger turned into something we could use. We didn't make promises. We made choices. Her mouth at my throat, my hands at her waist, the city making its reports outside our window. If this is infidelity, it was us cheating on fear with the idea of us. Morning came again because it always does, rude and kind. Luca texted a heart and a knife. The inspector sent an apology disguised as a checklist. Iris sent a photo of a suitcase and the caption, "Leaving the harbor before it leaves me." Marco posted something vague and victorious that fooled everyone who wanted to be fooled. We set the red scarf on a hook by the door, not as a trophy but as an alarm. Every time it moved in the wind, we remembered the room we were making. Not secret, just chosen. In the weeks that followed, the speakeasy filled with people who didn't cut lines, and some of them were beautiful, and none of them asked for keys. We were not saints, but we slept. On good nights, I'd look at Lana over the bar lights, catch that conspirators lift to her mouth, and know, there will always be someone trying to write themselves into our script. The trick is being too busy living it. The scarf is still there. It doesn't whisper. It says our names when the wind is right.